Today we're joined by Rob and Rachel from Lansdowne Property Group. Rachel, Rob, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, Lee. Thanks for having us on. Much appreciated.
G'day, Lee. So why don't we start your background, guys?
Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
I've got a very varied background, actually. I started my working career in Sydney, working in the ANZ Bank. So I did that for 12 to 14 years. Then I went into politics, worked for a federal member for 4 years, went back into financial services, was a mortgage broker, did my diploma of financial planning, and then I went back into politics again. So I worked in the health sector, workers' compensation, education, worked for TAFE New South Wales for 4 years, and then now I'm a buyer's agent. Started our own business at the end of 2022, and here we are, Lansdowne Property Group.
That's awesome. And how about yourself, Rob? Were you involved in real estate before this?
Look, I've been in sales all my life, over 30 years, in different jobs, being industrial, liquor. My parents owned and ran pubs. I've been a real estate agent. So I've been there, done that on that side of it.
Okay.
Took a break, went back into industrial sales, and then find myself back doing what I absolutely love, which is looking after.
How did you actually start getting involved in running a buyer's agency? What drew you to it?
I think when I left TAFE, I knew that I didn't want to work for anybody ever again. And then we've always loved property. We've bought and sold properties. We've had lots of investor properties. So we've held them for a while and sold them. And it was just, and Rob being in sales, it was just a natural fit. I didn't particularly want to be a real estate agent. I'm not a salesperson, but I know I'm really good at helping people and being able to read them and know what exactly they want and be able to take their scope that's here to bring it down to here. And we just came across an ad on Facebook for buyer's agents for the Buyer's Agent Institute, made an inquiry, and then it just went from there.
I suppose it's a relatively new industry. I know there's been buyer's agents that have been around for over a decade and whatnot, but it seems to have really taken that off over the last few years. Why do you think that is?
I think there's been a big gap in the industry. I think a lot of people come into wanting to buy a home, but don't necessarily have the skills to buy the home. I'm not saying they're not capable of buying the home on their own, but now I think it's changed. Like I think the way real estate is done now, it's changed completely. I think people actually need to have, and people are time poor. Like if you run your own business, or if you're an executive or a professional, even if you're a tradie, self-employed tradie, you're time poor. You really don't have the time to be going to every open home every weekend if you're looking for a house, or if you want an investment property and you're not necessarily want to buy in Sydney or or the city where you live. You don't have the capacity to fly to that state and have a look at the properties or know where the best deals are. Whereas professionals, as buyer's agents, we have those networks and we're able to do that. I think we're filling the gap.
Yeah. I think, especially in today's climate, it's so difficult to find property, go and inspect property, especially investments. If you're living in a place like Sydney, you're typically going to invest outside of the state. If you're running your own business already, I don't imagine, flying in the state to check out a property and speak to the agent and try to negotiate that on that one particular property. Probably not viable for a lot of people unless they have a buyer's agent.
We have bought for people interstate or up the far north coast of New South Wales. And the beauty of that, when you engage a buyer's agent, the good buyer's agents had networks. We have a network. So we won't allow someone to buy a property unless that property's been inspected by someone we trust.
And before buyer's agents came along, we bought a property over the internet, sight unseen. We were just lucky that it wasn't a dump. Actually, what the photos that we saw on realestate.com.au was actually what the unit was. But that's a rarity that happens because, like we can all make anything look good in a photograph.
First, one of the challenges, once someone's taken up your service, how do you set realistic expectations with your clients.
A comes down to when we meet with a client, going through their brief, being really clear on what they actually are after and what their absolute top budget is. We always shoot for under what their budget is because we always want to get our clients the best deal, but also making them realize that you're not always going to get what's on your wish list unless you actually buy a block of land and you build the house yourself, because then you're going to get exactly what you want. So what we do when we sit with a client, what are your non-negotiable? What is something that you cannot do that you just say you'll walk away from a deal if that's not included?
And look, we won't take every client on. If we can't deliver what they're looking for, we would rather say no. And I have in the last week.
Yeah. And I think another thing we do look at, and we spoke about that today in particular, is that when people come to us, they say, I want to buy a 2-bedroom house, 2-story house, 4 bedrooms, double garage, but there's only the 2 of them living in the house. So at that particular point, unless you're going to have a family straight away, do you actually need to have that at this stage in your life? Because as you move through life, your requirements of the house changes. And that's why we also spoke about when people, when their family's grown, about downsizing. Whereas a lot of people think, oh no, downsizing means I'm headed to the retirement home. But actually it means for us, total freedom, because you're unlocking the equity in your house and go and do what you want to do. If you want to travel for 6 months of the year, you buy a lock and leave and off you go. So I think we have to be good at managing your client expectations and being honest without being brutal.
Yeah, I suppose being honest with what they can get within their price range, what to expect. Once you have a brief from a client, how do you actually go about finding them that property? Is it a matter of just jumping on realestate.com? Do you have access to local agents in the area that help you guys out? How do you actually find them properties that they're after?
We've actually got a great program. We won't name that, but we do actually have a great program that's available to buyers agents. We utilize that. We utilize our local networks. So Rob and I will sit down after we've met with a client. My strength is in research. So I will be the one that will research the property. Rob will go out and once it's been located, he'll make the connections with all our real estate agents that we've been working with. If it's interstate, we'll reach out to our interstate buyers agents that we do know. So this is what our client's looking for. It's what their brief is. But yeah, it's not as simple as it's a rarity that we would use realestate.com.au because by the time they're on that, and we really like to shoot for properties that haven't come to market, like your pre-market or off-market, because then that gives it, we're able to get in to see it before it actually does hit the market and, hopefully get our client the best deal.
Look, it does come down to your networks. It does come down to local knowledge. It does come down to, look, if it has to, I'm going to knock on someone's front door. We're licensed real estate agents. We have to be under the law. So I can knock on the door and say, hi, I have a client. Your house didn't sell when it was on the market 3 months ago. Are you still looking to buy or sell? And if they say no, fine. If they say yeah, I say, well, how would you like to do this? Because there's not going to be any cost to them. You've got to know what's on the market. You've got to know. With agents, a lot of agents now, in some areas of Sydney, 20% of the properties are being sold off market. In other words, it's only database. It's only brokers only sell. What you see in America on the American TV shows, they're doing open homes just for buyers agents and their own database. And because they know a buyer's agent only brings a qualified buyer, and the people they're bringing in, they're qualified. They're not time wasters. So they increase the chance of that property selling in the first 2 weeks without having to go through all the open homes and all the marketing. And when you get that relationship with the agents, I tell you now, I have followed in the photographer and looked at a property, had our people in, and it never got to open home.
We had another woman buying for a client last year. They wanted a particular suburb. Actually, when they came to us, they had a map, Lee, and the streets were highlighted of when and when they wanted to. And I came home and I said to Robert, how are we going to do this? I was literally 6 streets.
So let me get this right. They didn't actually specify the area or the suburb. They actually highlighted streets on a map and said, "I
On the
want
top,
something there."
yes.
Yes, yeah, they knew exactly where they wanted to live,
Wow.
and they knew particular strengths and where. So I come home, I was in a bit of a panic, going, "How are we going to do this?" Because I knew those streets, and it was for houses to go on the market in those streets
Didn't happen.
it was a rarity, and when they did, they was snapped up so quickly. So
Rachel,
this is
can I
when
ask, was it those specific streets because there was an aspect, there was a view of some sort, or what?
Yeah.
What was it about those streets?
because it was the older character filled homes. They didn't want new builds, so they wanted an
Okay.
older home, which they thought laden full of character. It was walking distance to the main street. I understood the attraction of it, why those streets they wanted. But the beauty of our connections was we were able to get in touch with one of our real estate agents that we've worked with quite a lot. But he had a couple who had put their house on the market 12 months prior, didn't sell, but we're still interested in selling. So we went in, he contacted them, we went and viewed the house. It wasn't right for our client, but it could have been because it was actually in one of the streets that was highlighted. But in the end, we didn't buy a house for them that was in the street that was highlighted. So,
We got them the same house in
Yeah.
a different street.
Yeah, to a
Right.
character and an absolutely magnificent old, grand old dame, but it just wasn't in a highlighted street. So, yeah, it was interesting.
There's no
Is it-
such as a vanilla deal. And you know that in finance, there's no such thing as a straight up. If it is, it's too good to be true. There's something wrong.
It'd be great if I could keep going back to the same lender every time. Unfortunately, I
If you
can't.
want a 2-bedroom unit in Zetland or somewhere next to the SCG with one garage, I can buy you one of them because they are vanilla deals. There's hundreds of them. But when it comes to houses, no way.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't had a straightforward deal.
No, that's half the fun.
Do you find that's because of the emotion that's involved with someone's home? It's not like, when I look at commercial property, for instance, for investment purpose, I'm not looking at it emotionally. I'm looking at it, yield, where is it, price per square meter, is it inflated, that sort of thing. It's
Yep.
sort of a mathematical equation. Do you find because of the nature of residential stuff, it's because it's emotion driven, that's the reason why it tends to be a bit more varied each time?
Well, you can go into a room with 5 people, show them all the same picture, take the picture back and ask them to describe the picture. You'll get 6 different versions of the same picture. And it's the same with homes. It's no different.
Yeah, everybody's going to have a different attachment to
Yeah.
a house or a different feel when they walk into a home.
What someone else sees, someone else doesn't.
Yeah. The interesting thing with this client who we didn't end up buying the character-filled home, when we actually did see it, we made an offer. Well, virtually, we're still viewing the home for the very first time, and we're in the main bedroom, and they were giving us what we wanted to offer, and we're like, yeah, no, we just need to cool our jets for a minute and just have a real good think of it, take the emotion out of it, because they were prepared to pay way above the asking price because they had just, that emotional connection to the home as soon as they walked into it.
And that's where a buyer's agent comes in. A professional buyer's agent with ethics stops their client paying too much.
Yeah,
They've got to know where to walk away from the deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Lee. And you're right when you talk about investment properties. Investment properties are quite cynical because it's business.
Yeah.
You're not going to live in it. I guess you want a really good product for your money, but it's more about your return and it's about your yield and how much that area is going to grow. You're actually looking at the mathematics of it. You're not actually looking at, this is going to great area for us to live in. No, it's going to be a good area for us to, make some money and then, increase the asset and then buy another one. So it's completely different from, an investment to a home that you're buying for someone to live in.
And be under no illusion. Last year, I did walk away from a deal because I wouldn't allow my clients to overpay. I got
And
the
they
home.
wanted to keep going.
I got the home back 2 weeks later for the price I wanted to pay.
Right.
But I had to act on my client's best ways. And I had to act there to protect them. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do, is to stop people making a mistake.
You were previously a real estate agent. Do you find that, when you're the first one through a property and you're the first one negotiating with that agent for your client, do you believe there is a huge discount to be earned there?
It depends on the property and it depends on the agent's vendor. We've
Right.
done our research. We have computer systems behind that will tell us the value based on the market around it of what that property's worth. So I know before walking in the variables of what it's worth within, say, $100,000 if it's a multi-million dollar property.
Okay.
So, and the agent does too. So then it comes down to relationship. People forget that the agent is working for the vendor. I'm working for the buyer. He has to be directed like I would be for my client. He's directed by his. There's not always. I mean, let's be honest, but majority of the time, we do get a very good deal. Now, the deal can be more than just price. There's also, we package the deal up. But it's not always about going in and trying to save $100,000 because sometimes that can be insulting to the owner. So you've got to be fair. You've got to give a fair market price. But 9 times out of 10, we get it done.
We bought for a client on the North Coast, and we weren't the highest bidder, but because our client had finance in place and was ready to go, we got the deal. They had another buyer come in who offered above what we had offered, but the vendor didn't go with them because they were subject to finance. And they were worried that the finance didn't come through. It would have been another 10 days that the property sat on the market, whereas our client made the offer and they were ready to sign on the Monday and put down their 0.25. So it's
That
actually
a cash contract, basically.
Yeah. So it's actually it's how Rob packages the deal when he's dealing with the agent. So it's not always about price. It's about, this is what we can bring to the table, or our client's prepared to do a 3-month settlement, which suits your client, because not everybody is willing to do that.
I bought 3 properties that we were not the highest bidder. It comes down to the structure of the deal.
Yeah. I know from my own personal thing, I try to have my own finance and everything in place and offer a cash contract, and I'm ahead mostly on the terms, not so much the money. So completely understand there.
Yeah.
So, in speaking about price, you guys are based in the Sydney area. In Sydney, auctions tend to do very well. Or at least I have historically for the last year and a bit. Do you find because you're hitting these properties before they go to something like an auction, if I understand correctly, you might not be getting it cheap. I don't know if there's anything cheap in this market, but you're at least not wrestling with the emotion of other buyers because you have that first look in on a property that's entering. Is that fair?
There's a tactic we use, which I'm not going to let out, but
Okay.
there is a tactic and a strategy about buying a property before it gets to auction.
Okay.
And it's something that most only buyers agents know how to do.
Okay.
And it does work if the vendor is open. But there's a lot of factors that come into it. One is there a lot of interest in the property? If there's not a lot of interest in the property, the chances of you securing it before going to auction increase. If you've got a professional who's doing your negotiation.
Right.
I think the clearance rate around the weekend was 74% in Sydney.
Pretty high.
Yeah. So that, so the market is, moving forward. We laugh when when people say to us, "Oh, I'm not going to buy property to share. I'm going to wait till next year because I think, with the interest rates going down, property market, values might come down as well." No, there's only one way. The trajectory, it's going to keep going. So, and we spoke about this today that, today's affordable is tomorrow's expensive. Like it's just not going to.
I mean, look at northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland, around the Gold Coast down to Brunswick Heads. People keep saying, "Oh, I'll wait for it to get more affordable." It is going up double digits every year on year. That's what it is in houses. The market's gone nuts. And what's made it worse is a lot of them are now owned by Victorians and New South Wales people. So where they were doing 10 auctions in a whole of Queensland in a weekend, there's now 10 just sitting in southeast Queensland on a Saturday or a Sunday. So once those auctions get in there, demand, auction, people get emotional, they start to push the prices up.
Well, you would have seen it later, you know, how the price have changed in your area. Like they would have
Absolutely.
skyrocketed.
Absolutely. Look, I'm for those of you for our audience that doesn't know, I'm based on the Gold Coast. It's crazy what's happened here. Absolutely mental. And all those small little beach towns, you know, Yambas and Byron Bays, you're right, they've absolutely exploded. Crazy.
Yeah.
Locals don't like it, obviously, because they can't afford to live there anymore. But
No.
you know, it's absolutely insane what's happened there.
When you're looking at Casuarina or Kingscliff,
yeah,
a basic, like 2 or 3 year old 4-2-2, as we call it, average price is $2 million.
I know.
And there's not a lot of home, but demand. People want to live on the beach. It's a beautiful place of the country to live.
We've also seen another factor that drives the market is infrastructure spend. So we've been up and down the coast quite regularly in the last 18 months, and the amount of infrastructure spend that's been done just to put the bypass through Coffs Harbour has seen a dramatic effect on the prices in Coffs Harbour, because they know that all this traffic that was coming through their town, it's about to disappear. And Coffs is going to go back to being what it was, a nice country town, which is quiet, not so much all that traffic through it. So we were there in 2019 and looked at units then. And when we went back in November last year, they've just gone up. It's incredible the difference in the real estate there. So that's another area that's booming. Like if people got into the market, you know, 3 years ago, like post-COVID, they would be absolutely laughing at this point in time in those areas. And you're right about Yamba. Incredible.
We bought a property for someone the first half of last year, 2023, in Nerang. So centrally located, you know Nerang, for people that know, out of the Gold Coast, half an hour to the Gold Coast, an hour up to Brisbane Airport. He said to me, he rang me last week and said, Rob, I'll be buying again at the end of the year because the equity in my property has gone up so much, I can go and buy an investment property. Now that's fantastic. I mean, as a buyer's agent, when a client rings you, ecstatic at what we bought him, we got it for the right price, he now needs to go again. That makes our job worthwhile.
That's a phenomenal result.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a really good unit for the price that he got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Exceptional.
How do you use that when people, because obviously people aren't just coming to you guys for their owner-occupied home, they're coming to you for investment properties, used by properties up and down the East Coast. How do you determine how you're going to structure that investment portfolio? In other words, do you try to diversify assets around different suburbs? Do you try to diversify around different, you know, industry adjacent, you know, for example, a property that's affected by mines, another property might be affected by tourism. How do you help your clients structure portfolios? Give some advice there.
Well, first thing is buyer's agents can't give financial advice.
Yeah.
And should. But what we can do is we ask our client, what is your goal? Why are you buying an investment property? Is it for them to move into later? Is it to build a portfolio? What are they looking for? And then you structure your strategy around what they're looking for, be it diversification, be it future plans to move for their kids. And then they say, well, do you do capital growth or rental return? As you know, you normally can't get both. So somewhere, say north up in Cairns, a lot of them are positively geared because it's high rental return for a low capital investment, but you don't get the capital growth. Where other people are more than happy to buy a property where they're not getting low return when it comes to rent, but they know with the infrastructure spend that's been planned and the growth that's planned for the area, they're banking on selling it in 3 or 4 years and making a high capital return. So you have to ask the right questions, the open questions, very similar to what you do with your clients, to make sure that, we can map it. And then we have a great computer system where you can turn around and say to me, Rob, where are the best suburbs in Perth for rental return or capital grade for a unit? And I can go in and it throws me back all the data based on sales across all the different agencies on what's performing well. And we get the whole data spreadsheet, and then we sit down and work with them together to find out where they want to go. And they go, oh, that looks good. That looks good. And we start then delving in to make sure that we're going to get to them what they want.
But I think the beauty of having a buyer's agent, we're not just looking at, we don't say, well, we think that, Southeast Queensland is a great place to buy. Well, actually, because I love to research, I'll actually go onto the infrastructure portals and find out what's actually going to be spent, what is the forward planning that the government is going to spend in that area that hasn't commenced. Because once infrastructure starts, the horse is bolted, because everybody knows that's where to pounce. So, I like to do that with a client, particularly, if they're looking at investment. And same as having your superannuation. You should not have it all in the one, portfolio. You need to spread it around, because otherwise, in some areas, you mentioned mining. Like if the mining is winding down, like particular areas of the Hunter, then there's going to be an influx of investment properties for rental on the market. So your rents are going to go down. So that's going to have, a direct effect on how much income you're going to be able to get for your investment property. So you really have to look at it with where is the best spot for your client to actually buy an investment? And maybe should they look at a commercial investment property? So a lot of people disregard commercial, and I think they're
a hidden gem.
Oh, they are. They're a diamond in the rough. Like, I don't know why so many people more don't have them. Like, but
I'm a fan.
They're little maintenance, long-term tenants where they pay in most of the times all the outgoings and all the minor repairs. And a lot of them are a square concrete box with a roller door. And you're getting much better return on investment than what you are equivalent of a house that every time a tap breaks, you get a phone call from your managing agent saying you got to send a plumber around at $200 an hour. I mean, really, come on.
And the really good thing about them is as well, a lot of people, their personal borrowing capacities have been stretched, especially in recent years, the way property prices have gone and interest rates ballooning. And, this has obviously reduced people's borrowing capacity. The good thing with the commercial properties, what I like about them is, there's a product called a lease stock loan. And with a lease stock loan, essentially, we can go to a lender with just the lease of the property and a deposit. They won't check business financials, personal financials, nothing. Just the lease and the deposit. So they're also very easy to finance, which I like.
And what's the LVR on that?
Typically, the LVR in a lease stock loan is around 75%. Some lenders will do 70%, some will do 80%, typically around 75%. What's more important isn't so much the LVR, it's what they call the interest cover ratio. Essentially, what lenders want to see is that the income covers interest by a certain ratio, typically 1.2 times or 1.5 times. So if your interest bill, for example, is 100K per year, they would want the income on the lease at around 150,000. And you can base your LVR on those figures. Because obviously the smaller the debt, the smaller the interest and so forth. So they're very easy to finance, provided you have a deposit.
Yeah.
And don't get me the wrong way, but are they available for people on self-managed super?
There's a product that works very similar for SMSF stuff. With SMSF stuff, they're not just looking at the lease itself, they're also looking at contributions going into the SMSF. So they're really good. They're both very, very good loan options because they don't look at things like business financials. They don't look at things like personal financials. They simply base it on the merits of the leases. And obviously, in a self-managed super fund scenario, the contributions going into the self-managed super fund, which if someone's making mandatory contributions anyways, essentially it's borrowing capacity that they've got that they're not utilizing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
If you're going to invest a portfolio, you definitely need to have a commercial property in that portfolio.
You need to diversify.
Absolutely. Just, I know, particularly where we live in the Southwest, commercial hubs are getting smaller and smaller, like the land And it's always going to be needed. Like light industrial is always going to be needed close to a major town. You have to have it.
100, 200 square metre are very popular. A 200 square metre lock-up allows someone to have an office, to have somewhere to park their car and have a small warehouse.
Right.
They're working they don't hold stock anymore. So someone going in there, they're getting the stocks coming in, going out, coming in, going out. They can still have an office, they can still have a small showroom, and they can take deliveries, and they want that delivery back out within a couple of days.
Yes.
Or a lot of landscapers use it because all they need to do is somewhere to park the truck and the
That
equipment.
makes sense.
Yeah, and it's secure.
Once you start getting up over 250 to 300, yeah, they are popular, but then you're getting up to the next level and it's not as popular as in they're quite more expensive.
Yes. You got to have the business to match that level of rent. I
Right.
suppose that's going to be demanded from them.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you find are the biggest obstacles when people are entering the market? What do you find are the biggest challenges?
Wanting to buy Buckingham Palace on a garage budget.
No, I would say they're indecisive. And what we've been finding with older homes is that people don't want to do, unless you're into flipping and you are a handyman or you enjoy, doing the repaint, or you're happy to say, walk into a home, go, oh yeah, all the bathroom and the kitchen needs updating. We can buy the house, move in, and in 6 months' time we can start doing renovations. A lot of people don't want to do that. They want the brand spanking new, move in, have to not do anything to it. That's what we've been finding at the moment. We're actually co-listing a house at the moment. Beautiful old home. She's an absolute diamond in the rough. She just, got really good bones, but people can't see past that. It needs to be modernized or just updated. So they walk away, but they're walking away for a really good deal. Yeah, and a home that they would have for at least another 15, maybe 20 years if you're raising a family there, because you wouldn't have to move. Like it's big enough to raise
a 900 square metre block. They're not making them anymore.
Yeah, it's,
Wow.
it's a fantastic property that people just can't see past. I think they've lost their imaginations. Again, unless you are a flipper or you're happy to do the work, to do the painting and, go and put the kitchen in yourself, or get a trade, get a local builder to come and do it for you. They just don't do the work.
I blame Selling Homes Australia not being on free to air, where people used to see how to do all this.
Yes. Do you find it's because people are scared that trades are going to sting them, that things are expensive? Do you think that's maybe what it is?
Yeah, I think it's the fear of the unknown. I think so. And then sometimes they've reached their limit. There is no more money to actually do the renovations, because not even to paint, it's not cheap anymore. You buy a good quality paint, you're having to repaint your entire house. That's an added expense. So they just go, I can't do it.
And there's no Scott Cam to come through and slip you $10,000 to get you over the line. Honesty.
I had my father-in-law. My father-in-law's a painter.
Oh, well, you've got it in there.
I was very lucky. I knew when I was married. So father-in-law's a painter. The poor man, he took a week off work to paint my house. And basically all he wanted was for me to supply him the paint. Actually, a lot of the paint he supplied as well. He had off-old jobs and whatnot.
There you go.
We did inside, outside, roof. The inside paint actually he had covered, but outside paint, the roof he did. There was some other bits and bobs for some downpipes and whatnot, different metal paints and whatnot. He supplied quite a bit of that. I spent about $2,500 in paints. Yeah, just to supply paints.
Yeah.
So, I remember a few years back, I was getting quotes to actually get the house painted for around $7,500. So
I saw a video of two ladies who redid a house up on the north coast of New South Wales. Same age as this, the yellow brick, 1975 style home.
Yep. Paint
and a new floor. They made this house come up like a Hamptons. Absolutely magnificent. And they did the basics. And that's what Rachel's saying. People have no imagination.
Yeah.
Right. it's probably not the amount. They're time poor. I
It's
just
time
think
poor, I reckon.
time poor. Like, if you've got, you're married, you've got 2 children, you both work full time, and you're coming home at night time, you're making you're cooking dinner, you're doing the homework with the kids, you're putting them to bed, you're doing everything else, and then come the weekend, you go, I don't want to have to repaint. I don't want to have to go on with the kitchen or oversee anybody else, and that's extra money. That could be a holiday fund, or So I sort of understand why people don't want to do it, but at the same time, if you did it, you'd have like
Yeah.
You'd be
Anyway,
better off. Rachel,
Abs-
I have a
yeah.
client at the moment. They're looking at acreage in northern New South Wales, right?
Mhm.
So when they first contacted me, they were looking at properties around the 800 mark, and but that needed work. Look, this gentleman and his wife, he's in a very, very good position, makes quite a lot of money each year. But their idea was they were going to spend around that 800 mark. They'd find something they need and put a granny flat in, because they got family that comes up and visits, and potentially rent it out, and put some elbow grease in, paint, fix it up. They were looking around the 800 mark. I get a call today. Look, Lee, we found this property. Can you just let me know if it's going to work, with my finances? And, now they're looking at properties that are 300 extra. I sort of said, hey, what's going on? You've jumped up quite significantly here. What's happening? And he said, look, I just don't want to deal with the renovations. I don't want to renovate. I just want something ready to move into,
Yeah.
Seems like people are paying a huge premium for convenience. And I have a sneaking suspicion, because of the stuff in the news as well. I think people are scared if they have to go and put in the new kitchen, if they have to go and get a painter to come out. I think a lot of people are overinflating what the trades are going to cost them.
it's
I think that's
costing
happening
them
as
more.
well.
It's costing
Yeah.
more than all these houses already done.
For sure.
And I just look at some of them, and you go and see them, and you see what they're being offered for, and you go, my golly gosh, you could buy one like this and do it yourself and save yourself $200,000.
But I also think when people are looking at renovations, that sometimes they discount. I'll take Bunnings for an example, like putting in a communal kitchen. They're going, well, I don't want one of those. I want high-end appliances, and I want, a Gaggenau fridge, and I want this and I want that. Well, if you're going to renovate, you actually want to be able to have your renovation has to be affordable. And there's nothing wrong with a communal kitchen.
No.
Done right, they are amazing. And you would not know when you walked into a house who made the kitchen, unless they actually told you that it was, a high-end, cabinet maker made it, or what the appliances were. Just, yeah. I think to have over a certain amount, I think once you're getting over the 2.5 mil upwards, you do have an expectation that
It's an
you are,
that
you are going to have high-end appliances, and you sort of expect that in those homes. But below the 1.5 down, I just don't think you could be expecting to have them in a home unless you've actually built it yourself. Now,
Yes.
and that's a way you can save money, is to buy land, go through the process of building, but it's a 12-month process. So
and it's not cheap.
and it's not cheap to build anymore. And the delay with building supplies, with stuff sitting on the dock and not being able to have it. So we watched a local home here being built, and we thought it would have been, their clients would have been in, not clients of ours, would have been in early December. It's not even finished. And we're heading into February. So, and they'll be lucky to be in by March. So the delays in construction is another thing you have to factor in, because if you're not in the home, you either have to be paying a mortgage on your existing home, or you're renting, or you're living with relatives.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what, if you're building, you're paying interest on the actual loan, the loan that's being dispersed to the builder at that time, and you're paying your rent, so it's these sort of factors you got to take into account as well. It's not as simple as,
We had a mortgage broker that we've worked with previously, and he was just talking to us about a client who was selling a property, but they'd already purchased somewhere else, and they had had an offer on their house. Like they weren't clients of ours, but it was just in general. And this bloke probably uses it as an example of you need to know when to cut your losses and say yes to a deal. But particularly when you are selling. So they'd already bought bridging finance. So they had already bought on their next property and settled. So they were paying mortgage on property A and then mortgage on property B. And their holding cost a month were $10,000. So every month they waited, that was going up and up and up. And he came to us because he wanted, advice on what do you think we should do, and about the real estate agent, were they the best one, were they good at what they did? So Rob reassured him, yes, he had the right real estate agent to sell the property, and yes, they should be taking the deal because what they were offered, they weren't going to get that offered. Like it was the best deal that they were offered. And we were like, take it and run because your holding costs are going to kill you.
And I just did the calculations. Like the best way to help your client is to put it in black and white.
Yeah.
And when you do the forward costs, the costings, just like you do, this is why they pay to have buyer's agents. And you go through the whole spreadsheet. Hang on a minute. They were waiting for $20,000. I calculated that even if they got an offer when we came back after Christmas, at minimum, it was going to cost them $10,000 if they got a full price offer. And that's what I said, take it now because you're not going to get anything for the next 6 weeks. And we worked it out on paper. And then the agent rang me who didn't know that I was talking to someone else and said, how you going? I said, I hear you sold so-and-so. And he said, how do you know? And I said, well, mate, that's the
helped
beauty.
you look a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Well, you never betrayed confidence to me at all. You never knew anything. But you've got to be here to help clients, even if they're not your clients. It's God could come. You've got to be here to help people.
People do get emotional about, properties that they're selling, properties that they're buying.
Yeah.
I suppose a part of your job too would be, guiding them through due diligence, making sure everything, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
Yep.
What kind of due diligence do you typically do on a property? You found a property they like, they've done their inspection, they've gone through, they've had everything looks well and good. What does due diligence look like after that for you guys?
Firstly, we won't let a client buy a house we wouldn't buy ourselves. So that's probably our number one rule, and it's probably what sets us apart from other buyers agencies. So that's just who we are. But before we even actually go and look at a property, I've already done due diligence on the area. So I look at what, the local government is, the local council offers in the area, what community groups are, what the schools are like, what school the actual property falls into, because there's always the different catchment areas for your school. You might be on one side of the street, you might fall into one different school district to what you do on the other. What is going to be planned in the area? We know in this particular area at the moment, further out the acreage, they're actually going to be affected by the flight path from batteries. So we know that, that's not someone we would buy for a client. So that we would, even if they wanted acreage, we'd have to steer them in a completely different direction. And that's before we've even stepped into a property. We do that.
Floodplains?
Yeah, floodplains. We've got access to a town planner who does all that for us. We'll actually look at a property and go, no, it's affected by this floodplain. If they want to do modifications, no, they can't do that in that it's restricted. So we've got all that information before we actually go, well, we found a house. We can say to our client up front, we've discounted this property because of these reasons. And then when we do find a house, we've got building inspectors that we work with all the time, conveyancers, solicitors. So we've got a group of financial professionals that we can actually refer them to. And then after that, we're there on the day of settlement. So we actually do the last inspection with them. We put out any event, unless obviously it's interstate and we can't get there. We're with our clients when we're actually doing the last inspection. But we're very,
I guarantee most people aren't looking at things like floodplains and, so very valuable service you provide.
Yeah, particularly in the Southwest, we've had, we live in Camden. We've had our little township being flooded 3 times in the last year. So we're very conscious of that. Wherever there's a river, there is potential.
So it comes down to knowing the area, knowing where it does and doesn't. I mean, you'll see it in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, places that have never flooded in the last 12 months have flooded.
And a client might be looking to buy property with a view of building a granny flat in the future. So we need to make sure that we're probably looking at actually fits their scope, and is that permissible under the zoning? So yeah, so that's, we're very fortunate that we do actually have a town planner that we work with all the time. So
you have an example just for our audience out there. You've looked at things like the catchment area. You've proceeded through to taking your clients through for an inspection. They like it. You've proceeded to contract. You're at contract, and then something pops up in due diligence. That has resulted in cancelling the contract. Have you got an example of something that you have found during the contract phase where you have had to pull out?
We probably, in all honesty, found it before we've got to that.
Right.
And that's the whole goal. Before you get to, you don't want to cancel a contract because it puts a bad taste in everyone. So for 0.25, which is the smallest, you're just really on holding, that's why you do building and pests. That's why you do a few other things. 9 out of 10 things can be negotiated out.
But we've also if we are interested in a property, we do ask for the contract. So yeah, so we actually get given we always ask for the contract from the real estate agent. Doesn't mean we're going to go ahead to make an offer, but we actually want to know what inclusions are, because you're not always told.
Yes.
If you're going in there on your own without a buyer's agent, you don't know what's included unless you actually ask the question of the real estate agent until you get to sign the contract. You go, oh, so you're taking the plumbed-in fridge. You're not going to leave it. Or you're taking the chandelier that's in the ensuite, which is the reason why I'm buying it. Or you're taking the gang in our fridge.
Mm.
Oh, with the stove. So I know I'm talking high-end appliances, but
yeah,
it's the reality. If you don't know what to ask, that's what we as the professional do. And that's why I think buyer's agents are on the rise. And that's why people are happy to engage our services, because we do ask those questions. And when we come to settlement, we're saying to our clients, don't cancel your insurance until the day after you've settled. And they go, why? Because if you're moving and you've cancelled your insurance and something happens to your contents, you're not covered until they're actually in your new home. So there are small things like, have you changed your address on your license? Like just simple things that people just forget because they're so overwhelmed in the buying process, the settlement, the packing, the unpacking, that they don't think about it. But these are the other services that we do provide. We just provide them for our clients because that's what we would want someone to do for us if we're buying or selling.
Very, very valuable because, just as an example, in Queensland, for instance, you need to have insurance from the day following signing a contract of sale. So there are little quirks like that a buyer's agent could definitely help you with.
Yeah, absolutely. And because you've got a financial interest in property, you should always do your insurance from as soon as you put your 0.25 down, because you've got a financial stake in it.
And people don't realise in Queensland you've got a finance clause, where in New South Wales you don't. So you have to sign an unconditional contract at most within 10 days, unless otherwise agreed, with 10% down. But in Queensland, you can have a finance clause up to 28 days and still get out of the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different quirks like that from state to state, isn't there? There's quite a bit to know. And Queensland's seen a lot of interstate buyers, and they wouldn't know. They could have purchased 3-4 properties in Sydney or in New South Wales, and then, thinking the laws are very similar in Queensland, and, there's different quirks that they're unaware of.
And the real estate laws, they're not uniformed across the country.
No,
so
they should be. You'd think they would be, but
that would require politicians and governments to agree. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So it's each state's got its own rules and regulation. And I think, and that's another reason why buyer's agents are coming to the forefront, because if you need to be up to date if you're buying on your own as to what you can and can't do in the state, or what are you required to do when you sign a contract.
There's a lot to know. It's definitely a
Yes.
scenario.
Yeah,
And on top of
absolutely.
all that, you have things like market trends to be aware of. You know, especially when it's for investment purposes. How do you guys see things going over the next year? Just on that subject, do you see things? A lot of people, we mentioned it earlier about people thinking because interest rates are coming down, property is going to come down. I think it's going to be the opposite. And where do you guys see things going over the next year?
I personally don't see the property market dropping. Yes, interest rates coming down is going to be a really good thing. Inflation's tracking where the government and the Reserve Bank want it to be. But I just don't see, if there is, there'll be a correction. I don't think the market's going to drop. Maybe there might be pockets that the prices are overinflated. So there'll be a correction and it'll come back to where it is. But I think what most people don't understand is, particularly in major capital cities, there's not one market. So there's not one Brisbane real estate market. There's not one Sydney real estate market. The same with the Gold Coast. You have so many different pockets, whereas one area might be booming, whereas the other's gone stagnant. So we're here in Sydney alone, we've got 8 different real estate markets. So we've got the North Shore, we've got the Northern Beaches, we've got the Eastern Suburbs, Inner West, the Sutherland Shire, we've got the Bankstown area, we've got the Northwest and the Southwest and the far end of the Western Suburbs out to Penrith. So they're completely different markets. So one area might be going gunbusters, that might be the hottest place to live at the moment because the infrastructure's been built. It's only to get the metro in from, Kellyville into the city. Now it only takes you, half an hour or, compared to what you just had to jump in your car. So that increases the value of of that area. It's the same thing on the Gold Coast when the tree line was built. That is fantastic. If you're a family and your kids are going to Bond University, we can just stop the tram. They don't have to drive anymore. So it probably increase the value of the area, like Varsity Lakes. It's just, there's just not one. It's why I get really frustrated when they talk about the real estate market and this is what's going to happen. It's not one market. We've got multiple markets within major cities. And I also think that people are going to have to, I know Perth and Adelaide done really well in the investment space, but I think they're going to have to, for people to really make their money in investment, they're going to have to look further. I think regional New South Wales might come into its own. I know Tamworth is a really good hotspot at the moment. Southeast Queensland will still continue, and maybe potentially Cairns, not in the unit market. I think there's really good value in houses at the moment. We've done a lot of travel around the country. We're up in Rockhampton in October last year. Emu Park, Yeppoon, Grafmere, there's some great spots. But you just need to look, you need to do your research. And I just think that's why, having a good mortgage broker such as yourself, Lee, that has such a vast interest in property, even if people don't come and use us as their buyer's agent, we've got a good broker who's got their finger on the pulse, to be able to say, I think this is a good area. Let's do some research into that area. People who really know, we live and breathe property. So this is what we do. You have to know what's happening. You have to, to see what areas are going to be in the hunt at the moment. I think about, all the mines closing, influx of rental properties. Is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing? Or would it be a good thing because maybe if investors are selling their houses, first-time buyers can get in. Maybe that's a good thing.
Everyone said Newcastle would be a ghost town when the steelworks closed.
Yeah.
It took,
I remember,
5 years and it turned around. It's one of the most vibrant, beautiful looking cities in Australia with magnificent food venues, port venues. It just blossomed.
Yeah.
It's not everything as the press wants to play it out.
Yeah. I think to adapt and pivot.
Yeah.
Those coastal towns north of Sydney have all seemed to do very well.
Yeah.
And just on that, I know, we spoke earlier about Byron and places like Yamba and whatnot. What's going on? Do you know much about what's going on the southern side of Sydney, along that coast?
Wollongong down?
Yeah, Wollongong area, Shell Harbour areas. Is there much going on there at the moment?
Wow.
So Shell Cove is a brand new estate. It's just backs onto Shell Harbour. So you potentially could get in your boat in Sydney Harbour, drive all the way down to Shell Cove in your boat, park at the marina, get out. There are multi-million-dollar homes, beautiful units, waterfront, hotel, restaurant. It is incredible. It's just
so even that area is just blossomed down there as
booming.
well now.
Absolutely booming.
Gone from a nothing and an ugly duckling to just $2 million will get you a unit.
But
That's it.
Again, this has come down to infrastructure spend by the federal government. What they did is and the state government, they have made that freeway, it's virtually dual lane. So all the way past Gerringong, Berrinara, it's an incredible run. So that has increased the value of those little hamlets because people can now get there. So they work in Wollongong, they can live down there. It's not that far now because it's freeway all the way, whereas before it was a windy little road, like all those little towns in bypass. They've just boomed. Yeah.
I was going into the Sydney cricket ground the other week and they put all these new freeways in Sydney.
Yeah.
And we don't drive them that often because we don't have to go in or get public transport. And so I said to my father-in-law, how about we take one of the new roads into the cricket ground? Yeah, wrong mistake. I took the wrong road and ended up on the other side of Sydney on the Balmain side. So from one side of Sydney CBD to the other by tunnel. And I've just come out and gone, where am I, Barry? And so then I had to turn around and drive the old way back over, all the way over to the SCG. So it's not hard to get lost. But the infrastructure spend, you can now drive from Brisbane down one road to Melbourne, all on expressway.
Yeah.
Except for Coffs and Hexham.
Yeah, you got a couple of left and rights, but it's amazing.
That's really annoying when you have to drive through. It's good that they're doing that bypass because that was always annoying having to drive through Coffs, especially if you were driving, say, from the Gold Coast or from Sydney to the Gold Coast, you were doing that trip, and you hit Coffs at peak hour. You know, when people are coming to go from work in Coffs and that sort of thing. Oh, it's a nightmare.
Hexham at the back of Newcastle is just the same,
right.
But there's no plans. They can't work out how to do it.
Okay.
So it's the last piece of the puzzle.
But I think that's probably if I could give anybody advice, if they are looking to buy an investment on their own, is look at where the next sort of infrastructure is going to be spent. Not already commenced because you missed the boat. But I think that's why we are so, I wouldn't say. That's the beauty of having a buyer's agent because we'll take the time to do the research to see where the infrastructure spend's going to go. And I'm not just federal money, state and local. Whereabouts is the council going to do improvements? Are they going to spend the money and put a brand new water park in an area or add more parks into an old area, like to rejuvenate the area? Well, what are they going to be doing? Are they building libraries? Are they putting in new community facilities? Are they upgrading the local sports ground? So just all that actually adds money, adds value to a property.
Look at what's happened to the Brisbane market with the Olympics. It's better performing than Victoria just because the Olympics are going in. So, you just got to do your research. Rach is so right. It's especially in a lot of the states now, they're actually investing so much and it's really doing wonders for the local economies.
I remember how well Sydney was doing when they announced the 2000 Olympics. I was living in Sydney at the time. I was a little kid, but I remember it seemed like there was so much work. Things were just, they had just done the airport tunnels there. And it was, it's the infrastructure that it brings and all that. But
this new airport they're putting in is making the money they spent on the Olympics look like a drop in the ocean.
The Badgerys Creek one.
Of course, this has got private money all around it as well. The infrastructure, the roads, the warehousing, the Amazons, all of them. It is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars going in.
There's going to be massive industrial parks around there.
Yeah. It's just having a massive effect on Southwest Sydney. People forget that Greater Western Sydney is the third largest economy by GDP in the country. So there's Sydney, Melbourne, and then Greater Western Sydney.
Wow.
And that's about to go through even more because all the freight that's in Sydney, when that airport opens, automatically moves out to the new airport.
Because you would know, Lee, that with Greater Western Sydney, that's at Penrith. So it virtually comes across all the back of Sydney. So it is Penrith into Liverpool, all the way out to Camden, Campbelltown. So it's a massive population.
Huge catchment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's the powerhouse.
Yeah. Parramatta, that area. Yeah. It's huge.
Parramatta is basically a city on itself. If we're being
Yes.
honest, you've got
Yeah.
CBA's got their head offices there. There's a bunch of companies with head offices
Mm.
there, electing to be there instead of the actual city itself.
I mean, Parramatta CBD is pretty well similar in size to Brisbane.
Yeah.
No, I'm like Parramatta or Brisbane. It has grown that quick.
Yes.
The Brisbane CBD and their CBD are very similar in size.
I remember during the GFC going and looking at this block of units on Church Street. They wanted opinions for it, nothing. And I thought, it's going to be hassles. If something goes wrong, I'm not going to be able to go and put eyes on it myself. Biggest mistake. I should have looked more into that because what's going on there is insane. Church Street being the main street in Parramatta there.
Yeah.
We were very. I remember when Newington, with the new suburb next door to Homebush, was being built, and thinking, who would want to live there? And now there's units everywhere. It's the most Liverpool. So
it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on out there. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I see Queensland and New South Wales as the two states that are really moving forward the quickest. And most of it's been driven by private developers and private money. It's not been driven by government. The private money that's coming to both those states is making massive difference in the economies. And they are undervalued, and then followed probably by Western Australia.
I think as well, what's happening in Melbourne is just the laws they're coming out with, that are anti-landlord. I think that's helping those two states as well. I've got a client that's got around 20 residential properties in Melbourne, and he's basically given them all to a real estate agent he knows, and said, "Look, here's your catalog. Sell these properties for me. And I want out of here." He's planning on moving to Brisbane. He's over it. He's sick of the laws. It's just becoming very toxic for investors down there as well. I think that's having a lot to do with it. I don't know.
Within our network, our buyer's agent network that we've got, I don't know of anybody who's looking to buy in Victoria at this present point in time.
Yeah, a lot of landlords seem to be getting turned off from the laws that are being proposed, and
I think I personally think it's quite short-sighted. The laws and the stigma of a landlord. I think people think that because you've got an investment property, that you're a wealthy landlord and you won't do the right thing by your tenant. When in all reality, majority of landlords are mum and dads or just normal everyday working people who want to get ahead for their retirement. When they see the value in working hard and having an investment property or multiple, or having a property portfolio, they see the value of that. They see that unless you're putting pulling your superannuation into a self-managed super fund and actually doing it correctly or getting the appropriate financial advice on where to put your super, you're not going to be able to live off your super when you retire. So you need multiple. You're in business for yourself, but you need multiple income streams, and that's where your rental portfolio comes into it. So I think for governments and for the media to say, or to have this view that every person with investment property is rich. That's not the case.
I mean, all they're doing is they're turning people off investing, and with less investment comes less building, comes less dwellings for people to purchase.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And pressure on the rental market.
Exactly. I was talking to someone within the industry just a week ago, and I said, I wonder what would happen to property prices if they removed capital gains for just 1 year. Just 1 year that gave everyone said, look, sell what you need to. There's no capital gains to be paid. I wonder what would happen to the property market, because I sort of feel like even capital gains itself, it constricts supply, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a barrier. If you're looking to offload a property and you think, well, I'm going to have to pay X amount of dollars in capital gains, I'll just hang on to it for a bit longer. Yeah.
I know this family. They have quite a lot of residential properties. First generation Greek family. They didn't know commercial property. They didn't know stocks, bonds. All they knew was buy inner city properties. And this family's got a sizable property portfolio. We're talking, well over 100 inner city properties. They won't sell them. And the reason, and they want to go and now reinvest into commercial things, small shopping centers, that sort of thing, where they're going to get higher rental yield, because they don't need the capital growth. They want the yield.
Yes.
But it's just not worth it to them. They're going to sell, say, 100 properties. They're going to be left with 50.
Yeah.
It's capital gains is a killer. So, that's 100 properties around Marrickville, Newtown area that could be on the market. Definitely, increase supply. I don't know. I think sometimes governments, they try to fix a problem and they tend to make things worse. Even this negative gearing thing that it's been rumored, removing negative gearing. You're just going to stop people from investing in more and more new builds.
It's legislation by populists.
Yep.
Yeah. It's instead of actually looking at what is going to be good, let's take out the popularity contest in politics, and they won't ever, because that's just they believe, whether they say it. I love when a politician comes out and says, "We don't watch the polls." That doesn't even us. We're just here to do our job.
The only poll that matters is on election
day. Polling day.
What a crocky, you know what?
Yeah, so I've worked in politics for a long time. I've worked with three MPs, so I sort of do the whole role when I hear a politician saying that. Of course you are. You're leading by populism.
There's so many things that, they can do. So many things. Even if they just allowed people to sell, like take this family that I mentioned, for example, with the 100 or so inner city properties, even if they allowed you to sell a residential asset, and instead of paying capital gains, had a rule where you had to purchase a commercial property within a year or something like that. I know they had something similar from commercial to commercial within a business structure. They allowed you to exchange basically residential assets into commercial assets and avoid capital gain. All you're doing is pushing the capital gain onto the commercial property anyways. Something like that. I don't know. I feel like the prices would shift a lot. I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to fix it, but I don't think what's being proposed at the moment is a good idea. I don't see it working.
No.
I feel like if anything, they make the situation worse.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're not sitting in the lodge, so we're not making the decision.
No. So for people out there that are looking at pursuing a job as a buyer's agent, I'm sure there's people out there, wondering for the first time what a buyer's agent does and thinking, I like property, I like investing in property, maybe I'll pursue a career in this. Is there something you would tell them that you wish you knew before starting this journey? Do you have any advice you could give someone out there that's hoping to be a buyer's agent?
Yeah, take it slow. Do all your training first. Complete all your, whether you do, because you have to be a real estate agent. So when you first start, you do your assistant agent certificate, and then you have to work under a licensee. Do your Cert 4. You can either do the New South Wales pathway, which is what I'm doing, or you can do the Queensland pathway. But I would strongly suggest that you have all that completed before you even look at taking a client on. Because by the time you get into if you're going to go through the Buyer's Agent Institute, have all your programs done, you have all your mentors in place, people that you can, go back to and say, I've got this client, what can I do with this scenario? Build your relationships up with your real estate agents. Do that from day one. So if you're really interested in being a buyer's agent, get out. You have to put yourself out there. You can't be a wallflower. If you want to be a successful buyer's agent, you cannot hide in the background. that you're not going to be a success. You really have to throw out the rule book. So what you did in your previous life, doesn't matter what role it was, you have to flip it on the edge and just do it completely different. And don't be afraid to do things differently. All buyer's agents are different. Our business is different to a friend of ours who's a buyer's agent in South Australia. Completely different. And success for us is completely different to what success is for her. So don't compare yourself. Just do your own thing, stay in your own lane, and find your own niche.
How important is finding that niche? Rob, Rachel, you guys have a lot of experience in pretty much every town that you look to buy and think. You know a lot about the Gold Coast. Just from our conversation today, it's pretty obvious. You know a lot about what's happening, around that Shell Harbour area. How important is it for a buyer's agent to be well researched in the places in which they're looking for properties for their clients? Is it a necessity, or is it something they can pick up on the job, or is it something they shouldn't even look at offering until they know?
We've got two types. You've got owner occ or investment. Investment, as you and I know, is basically by the figures.
Yep.
So you do the figures, you do the spreadsheets. It's a non-emotional purchase. So yes, technically you can get away with not knowing a lot and then finding it along the way,
provided the figures stack up.
But when you look at an owner occ, the person who you are buying for is emotionally invested in that property and emotionally invested in where they're buying. The least you can do is you need to know that area. If you don't know the area and you can't find out about the area, find another buyer's agent that can look after them and refer them to them and let them look after them. Because local knowledge is absolutely vital.
If you're buying in your own area, you need to be a specialist in your area. You need to know your area inside and out. So we live in the Macarthur district in Sydney. We know, and we've lived out here for 31 years. You have to know the area inside and out. And you have to keep abreast of all the new developments in the area. So you really need to be on top of your area and be the go-to specialist for this area. That's what you want to be. And then you've got your investment side and then your commercial side, depending on what you want to do. Some BAs only want to do investments. That's all they want to do, or they want to deal with first-time buyers. For us, we want to deal, our niche is time pool senior executives and small business people. That's who we really do target, and that's who we like to look after, because they understand the value of our time and they understand what they pay us for. We're going to deliver because we get them. But you have to, yeah. So if anybody's watching this and they are on the fence about being a buyer's agent, contact either Rob or myself. We're happy to have a chat, steer you in the right direction with regards to your training, the Buyer's Agents Institute that we went through. I think we would have been lost without them. They've been fantastic, just to support. But if your property is your passion, just do it.
Just do it.
Don't sit on the fence. Don't wait for another 10 years to go, oh, I've missed the boat. Because at the moment, because there's only so few of us, I think it's only about 2,500 buyer's agents, but there was when we first went. It might be a bit more than that now. There's 20,000 real estate agents in Australia. 20,000 real estate agents. So, and there's only 2,500 of us. So it's a what they class as a blue pool, like
blue ocean. Yep.
Yeah, so there's enough room for all of us. We don't have to. There's 4 or 5 buyers agents out here where we live at the moment, but we don't cross over because we've all got our own lane. We've all got our own niche, and we're all happy to work together to support each other. So you're not in competition. It might change in 10, 15 years' time when there's 20,000 buyers agents. But, at the present point in time, if somebody's thinking about doing it, just do it.
Thank you so much for offering to help out anyone out there that's looking at pursuing a career as a buyer's agent. That's great. So guys, what are you looking forward to this year? Is there anything on the horizon that you're looking forward towards?
Yeah, we are. We're looking forward to, increasing our capacity for clients. And our goal is by the end of 2024 that we'll actually have a 3rd buyer's agent on board. So we won't just see
or a 4th.
Or a 4th, yeah. So we're looking to expand, and ultimately, our goal is to expand our service offering, what we do offer. So we do work close with, as I said, town planner. So we do what we can offer those services for our clients, or for any client actually who wants to contact us. And we do have that capacity. So yeah, we've got big plans for Landstone Property Group. So, watch this space, as they say.
Well, we'll definitely have to get you back on to let our audience know how it's all going. I wish you nothing but the best. Now, buyers agents, like we touched on earlier, you typically have access to properties that haven't hit the market.
Yeah.
So, I don't want you to give specifics. Our viewers out there, they have to use your service. We all need to be paid. But have you got an investment property, or maybe even an owner-occupied house that you think is very, very good value at the moment? Something that's off market that's come across your desk that you think is an absolute steal. Have you got something like that?
Look, we know of a property in South Camden,
Okay.
which is in an area that was the prestige area when they started to do these big, and it's on a very large block.
Okay.
It's got 4 bedrooms. It's got a double garage. It's got a pool. It's next to a park. Nothing's going to be subdivided around it. I think the smallest blocks around it's around 850. This thing is a charm. And for the price these people want for it, you cannot buy land this size anymore. You are 50 minutes from the city of Sydney. You are 25 minutes from the new airport. You are 40 minutes from the beaches in Wollongong. And this house is a cracker. All it needs is a bit of love. All it needs is someone to go in and say, you know what? I can paint that. I can put that in, and you'll have the most magnificent home for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
It's full of love. The people brought their family up in it, and they're now downsizing. So
Right.
they had too many kids. They extended. They did it all up, and now they want to hand it to another family. This home has got good feeling as soon as you walk in.
Settle on.
And
How
love.
big is the block, Rob?
Just under 900.
It's a big block.
You put a granny flat in it, subject to council approval. You can do some
Possibly an extra
amazing
income there.
things. Absolutely amazing things. You can go up, you can go left, you can go right.
But that's not the only property we've got. We've got the property which is about 15 minutes south of Camden.
Which one? And this is one that people who are looking for rural.
Okay.
They've forgotten about this one. There's a place called Mount Hunter, which is
All
10
right.
minutes out of Camden. And it's a dead end road. It's just over 2 acres. It's a 4-bedroom house with 2 sheds, triple garage. So it's on a road that can't be developed. And it's
Basically
surrounded by
a private road almost.
Sorry, Lee?
It's almost like a private road type thing. Like
Yes,
it is, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's not private. The council doesn't know about the potholes. So, it's funny. But you're surrounded by people with horses.
Okay.
So it's the best part of having a rural property with a couple of acres without having to mow 5 acres. You've only got a couple.
Oh,
But
right. Okay.
No water. It's got electricity and all that. And that is, just after, I think that at the moment is around the 2.1.
Yep.
Value for money, close to the city, the whole lot. And this house really just needs a new coat of paint. And you're sitting there, and I've sat there, and all you can hear are the birds. You can't even think.
It's a rare thing to have that so close.
And
to
at
Sydney.
now it's time you can be on the beach in the city or anywhere. In 15 minutes, you're in Camden, some of the best food in southwest Sydney.
But if you've got, teenagers looking to go to university, you've got access to Wollongong University, which is only, 30 minutes away, or you've got University of Western Sydney campus at Campbelltown.
So the beach is really Wollongong Beach is only about half an hour away?
No, it's not far at all. We've got a brand new hospital at Campbelltown, which has been redeveloped. And we've got the clinical school, which taps into the medical school for the University of Western Sydney. So, it really is an amazing place to live in the southwest.
And this place to me, is the perfect lifestyle property. For someone who wants the country living, but still needs to work in the city, you can't do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of a place that would be better, to be honest.
No.
Yeah.
Would you like to buy it? I'll do you a good deal.
It's around.
Yep.
It's about 800 k's too far away from me.
I get you a good price. Just you and me, I get you the price.
I'm sure there's someone out there that's thinking, yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. 2.1.
Yeah.
It's good value.
And then we do have access at the moment. We've have access to a lot of investment properties. So that is coming online. So, and they'll actually be available on our website for people to have a look at in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So they're ready to launch end of February, I think. So
a lot of off the plan.
2.1 that previous property?
Yeah, 2.1, just over 2 acres, an engineer's shed, another big shed, a triple garage.
Big place.
It's great. It's a great house and a great buy.
You know what's funny? My family's got a property in Newtown with 4 meters frontage, and I'd say the price guide would be around that. I know where I'd rather be living.
yeah,
As I said, I'll do you a good deal.
it's all about location, isn't it?
It is.
It's all about what you want. Suits people.
You know, half an hour from Wollongong, an hour to the city, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and 25 minutes to the airport when it opens.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And a dead-end road. It's like 6 kilometres long, but it's a dead-end road.
Does the property border national forest? What
borders other 5 and 10 acre properties.
Okay, right.
Most of them do agistment, or are people who just have a couple of horses, or just want a country lifestyle without living in the country.
Right. It's great.
There's not even in Mount Hunter. There's not even a general store, not a supermarket, no nothing. And that's why it's popular.
The school. That's it.
That's it. The school, which is 100 years old.
Unreal.
It's a great little spot.
But 10 minutes either side, you've got everything you want. And then again, that's knowledge, because you would never find this house and know about it without a buyer's agent.
Yeah, there's definitely, like I said, there's definitely value in what you do, even for people that aren't type 4. I didn't want to say this earlier because, obviously it's not something you can really market. But the truth of the matter is most people can't negotiate either, and I think most people would find that if they had yourself, Rob, with your experience in real estate and knowing how to handle a real estate agent, which is very, very important. I think most people would find that the fees are generally saved just in the negotiation process.
Absolutely.
Easily.
And we do offer that service, Lee. Like the people have actually, if they've found
separate to what you negotiation.
So we do. We've got a whole range of services that we do offer within our service offering. So obviously we offer the full buyer's agent. Like we'll sit down with you, do your scope, do your brief, and then we'll go at the property and do the negotiation, and we're with you until settlement and after. We also offer an auction bidding service only. So we'll sit if you're not comfortable going to an auction and bidding. We'll do it on your behalf. Obviously, we sit down with you and, locate the property. We've done all the pre-work on the property beforehand, before we go to the auction. You give us your set limit. You don't have to attend the auction. You can sit in your car at the front if you want to. We can be on the phone, but we all know your limit, because sometimes people get to an auction and emotion overtakes the budget. Yep. So the emotion's up here and the budget's still down here, and they've still got the panel going. So that's another service we offer. Rob can talk to this one, is the one where we do the sales advocate.
Yeah, we'd actually help people sell their home. If you're a poor executive, or you've never sold a home in 20 or 30 years, or you're a senior. And a lot of seniors do this now. They employ a sales advocate to manage the sale for them. So we help select the real estate agent, we attend the open homes, and we do the negotiation with the agent. So they're totally removed. And you can have a family that is selling a property on behalf of Nan or Pop. And the last thing an agent needs is 4 people giving him 5 opinions on whether something's going to be. So then you employ someone like me to do the lot. And it takes a lot of the pressure away, especially executives who aren't maybe at the house. They're flying around the world, or you're selling their house in Trinity Beach when they live in Brisbane. So you can do a lot of those things for people, save them time, save them money and make them money, because time is money to those people. They don't have time to negotiate. They don't have time to make decisions like that. They'll give a professional to do it.
And the last one we offer is the negotiation only service. So as you think, Rob's been in sales for over 35 years. He's been in real estate. He knows how to negotiate and he knows how to get our clients the best deal. So if you've found the property already, but you're not going to be able to come against a real estate agent, that's their job. They're a negotiator. They do it 7 days a week, 50 or 52 weeks a year. So
They're killers. Their goal is to try to get the best price for their clients. It's what makes them look good. It's what gets them paid more. So
absolutely. So why would you go it alone? Why would you not engage a buyer's agent to negotiate on your behalf?
And a good buyer's agent can help you structure a commercial deal. In other words, you're either buying or selling, and you need, and you do commercials. Sometimes it can be quite hairy. So why not employ someone to negotiate on your behalf who doesn't have the emotion, who a lot of business people can be quite direct and they're very successful, but that doesn't go well in negotiation. So it's better to have someone working as the in-between to get the deal done.
Rob, I have a client that went and looked at the property, and the client knows I have access to RP data as a mortgage broker. We give him a free property report so he can see the sales history and all that sort of thing. So I give him this property report, goes and sees the property, he says, we go over his figures to make sure he's all good, finance wise. And he says to me, look, Lee, they're asking 900. So at most, I'm going to put in an offer for 900. Okay, not a problem. So he goes and sees the property, comes back after seeing the property. Lee, I've got the property. How much? 950. Now, weren't they asking 900? He goes, yeah, but they talked about another offer at 910. And then they kept going back, and he goes, in order for me to secure this property today, I had to offer 950. I said, but they were asking 900. You've offered $50,000 more. And, I found it mind-blowing. I would never do this, but if there was ever a case for someone to pay for your service,
yes,
there it is right there and there. It's
the steak knife.
Sorry?
You get the steak knives. And wait, there's more. Like,
they didn't bring him back and say he need another 1,000.
The real estate agent gave him a basket with some shit. It's people. I think for 90% people out there, from a due diligence perspective, from a negotiation perspective, from a finding and sourcing perspective, if they're time poor, they're far better served with a buyer's agent. And so if our audience out there wants to get in contact with you guys, how can they do so?
So they can do it through our webpage, which is lansdownepropertygroup.com.au. My contact phone number is 0438 464731. We're on all socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're quite easy to find. Rob's number is 0432 264 209. And you can ring us at any time. It's always an obligation-free chat with the client to see whether or not we are a good match. And if they just want to know some information, most of the time we always ask our clients to have their finance approved, or if not, we ask them to go and see a good broker, Lee.
Oh, thank you.
Refer them to a good broker. We know who knows to look after them. And so, we're always here to help and always willing to help people get off the property merry-go-round.
Yeah. It's, guys, property prices, there's people losing, I see it every day. There's people losing their deposits, waiting, a year just to get into the property market. They're losing their deposits in the value of property going up. Yeah. Do yourselves a favor, speak to Rob, speak to Rachel, see how they might be able to help you. Don't just get stuck with your pre-approval. We do pre-approvals and, people let them lapse after 3 months. We've got to reapply again. Yeah. Do yourselves a favor, see a buyer's agent. Let them help you find a property, the right property for you, for your budget. You won't regret it. Rachel, Rob, I'll pop your details at the bottom of this video so people have access to it. I really appreciate you guys coming on and being the second guest on the Property Finance with Lee podcast. I know it didn't go as smooth as it will after episode 50, but we'll definitely get you back on in a few months and you can give us an update of what you're seeing in the market and how things are progressing.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next one, looking at you on your beautiful new home on the canals up there with the 25-foot boat behind it on an afternoon with the palm trees going back and forth.
Good on you, Rob. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you can keep up with the latest content. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.